Hey, look who's back in the dog pound, at least for one more episode. What's going on, Browns fans? Welcome into the Browns Report by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, filling in for Matthew Peterson once again. And on today's episode, sure it's the exact reason why you clicked in, Browns OTAs, winners and losers. Now, before we get into the list, everybody just take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. It's May. There are no real losers. Can we all agree on that? There are players that stood out, and there are players that kind of sunk back into the background that we'll get to on today's episode. Now, before I get into the actual list once again, I'm going on a little mini vacation, call it a 3-day holiday, if you will, and I have got a challenge just for you. I don't want to stay sober on my vacation, so here's what I'm going to ask you to do. One sub equals one drink. So in 24 hours when I leave for my vacation, I'm going to check back on this video and see how many subs we got. Hopefully, it's about 25, and then I'm definitely not staying sober. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, lock us in for free Browns content all the time. It should also be noted that the Take two. The OTA no-shows were as followed. Myles Garrett, Greg Newsome, and Diontae Johnson did not show up. Neither did Jack Conklin or David Njoku. The two guys that right on top here, Myles and Greg, I'm not super concerned about. Myles is going to be, at mandatories, plowing through dudes, no Diddy. I'm not worried about it whatsoever. Same with Greg Newsome. You got two at the best of their very positions. I'm not even slightly concerned about them missing voluntary OTAs. All right, now we can finally get into the list. Sorry for keeping you waiting. Shedeur Sanders comes in as our first winner. And I don't think this really comes as a surprise to Browns fans. He has been balling out. Sports Illustrated wrote an article about everything that they captured over at Browns OTAs. And here's what they had to say about Shedeur. It feels pretty clear right now that Sanders is the last man up within the group. I will say, though, in just a month, he's already made some noticeable adjustments with his mechanics. His upper body is much more compact and was throwing a tighter spiral. Without being at practice every day, it's hard to know what the rep share kind of looks like, and then they go on to talk about how all four quarterbacks seemingly got this, even rotation, according to Kevin Stefanski. And if we look back at what we kind of saw yesterday, which was the Browns' stats during OTAs, Shedeur clearly stands out as number one, which is a great sign, meaning he is progressing, which is what Browns fans wanted to see. And if you aren't even a Shedeur's fan, let's just blank slate it real quick. Despite your personal feelings about Shedeur, the prospect at quarterback has so many exciting possibilities, does he not? I mean, we are talking about a guy who just 6 months ago was being considered the top choice for the NFL draft. Not just the top quarterback. There were rumors he could have gone number one. And then things happened the way they did. We're not going to get into it. He slid to 5. Browns scoop him up. The rest is history. And I know you've seen his stats from 2024 like clockwork. Well, you're going to see it one more time. These are insane numbers. Now, he didn't play in a traditional pro-style offense when he was in college, but that's okay. Kevin Stefanski is going to get him right. And the current Browns QB depth chart doesn't even have him as the quarterback 3. It is Dylan Gabriel. But I think very, very quickly, you're going to see Shedeur's name at least somewhere in that 1 or 2 spot. Now, does that mean he's going to start the season? No, not necessarily. In fact, I said yesterday on yesterday's episode that Flacco is going to end up starting. That's just my prediction. Call it what you will. But I will say this. Out of all the quarterbacks that are currently in that room, Shedeur has the highest upside. And I don't think that's arguable. So take that for what you will, but that's just my 2 cents on the whole thing. Okay, before I get into it, I want to make sure that you have a trivia question because I know Petey loves trivia as well. Name the starting Browns quarterback when you were 10. Ooh, this is tough. Producer Smitty, do you know what yours was? Really? And how old were you when you were 10? Jeez Louise. Okay. I think mine was Charlie. Yeah, it was Charlie Fry because it was 2006. Charlie Fry and Derek Anderson, actually. The two of those, actually, were the guys that came in back-to-back. Anyway, we digress a little bit here on the channel. That's okay. Let me know in the comment section down below. All right, our first loser, Diontae Johnson. And the reason I say Diontae Johnson is because he didn't show up, and that's kind of like a prerequisite for getting you into the loser category. That's not to say he is a loser, because remember, there are no real losers. But I will say this. Sports Illustrated kind of captured this almost perfectly as to what I thought about the whole situation. Johnson being MIA seems more problematic considering he's on his last leg in his NFL career. It goes on to say that OTAs are built around offensive work. We know this. But the truth is that Diontae Johnson is on his last leg. I mean, this is a guy that has alienated himself from locker rooms all over the NFL. And as a wide receiver, in terms of talent, he's got the ability to do it. His attitude blows. I mean, when's the last time you heard a positive story about Diontae Johnson? Now, I do know that he's been spotted around camp getting some work in, so that is at least somewhat positive news. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when mandatories come around. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now, again, one of those players that, to me, you've got to be out showing that you belong, not only on this team, but in this league. And after chance after chance after chance with the Ravens and the Steelers and the Texans, he's blown all three of them. So getting him back to square one, if you're his agent, his family, his friends, seem to be one of those, like, it's kind of a necessity, right? Like, everybody in his camp should be saying, put your head down, work your ass off, and earn yourself a spot on this team. All right, our second winner, third on this list. Math has never been my strong suit. The Browns' defensive line as a whole. I loved what I saw from the Browns' defensive line. Sports Illustrated, you're going to see them a lot in this episode. They basically said this, starting with Mason Graham, who was sensational off the jump on the defensive line, was incredibly noticeable, not only during rookie minicamp, but also in OTAs. And I love hearing that. We're going to touch a little bit more on Graham here in just a second. But then Joe Tryon, he makes an appearance as well, who actually, was so aggressive and so amped up, he collided with Pickett on a play, and that's an obvious no-no, especially in OTAs. You're not really supposed to be making contact. But I love the aggression regardless. Now, taking a look at how the Browns' defensive line is currently slated, adding Mason Graham, who has shown the ability to have that explosiveness that you're looking for in a defensive tackle, it leads me to one conclusion. This defense is going to be something scary. The offense, take it for what you will. There's a lot of question marks up in the air. We still have to figure all that out. But you can't tell me that you're looking at the way that this Browns defense is constructed and you're not at least excited to see them get onto the field and make disruption happen on opposing quarterbacks. I'm really, really looking forward to it. But you know what? Hey, injuries be damned, and there's a lot of things that are still up in the air. If this defense can stay healthy, you're looking at perhaps a top 5 unit in the NFL. And I truly believe that. All right, our second loser, Jerome Ford. This is not so much of what he did or did not do, but more on what happened when the two rooks stepped in, Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson. And again, Sports Illustrated talked about how Judkins looks the part, has the explosiveness that you're looking for, is clearly the focal point in this Browns backfield. And his statistics in college that final season, they don't do it justice. He split with Travion Henderson frequently. It was almost an even 50-50 split. We're talking about a guy that has some breakaway playmaker type ability. And same with Dylan Sampson, who was more of a focal point for the Tennessee Volunteers. Again, a player that clearly understands his value, what he does well and what he does not do well on the football field. And all that leads me to believe they're kind of phasing Jerome Ford out. They said goodbye to Nick Chubb. It was great while it lasted. Ford, to me, while he might be RB1 going into week 1, is most likely going to be explored as a trade candidate because this running back room will be led by Quinshon Judkins. That's beyond the truth. Can't really have something beyond the truth, so kind of a stupid statement on my part, but you get my point. It's going to be led by Quinshon Judkins. He will be RB1, and this will be his backfield. Now, what's it going to look like with Sampson mixed in? Again, up in the air. But right now, you can be well assured that Quinshon Judkins is going to be RB1 within the first couple of weeks of the NFL season. And before we get into my last winner, make sure that you use this link that I've put in the comments and description of today's video and start shopping your Fanatics jerseys today. It is super simple. You can get Mason Graham, Quinshon Judkins, who we just talked about, Shedeur Sanders, and any sort of Cleveland Browns apparel that you want. You don't just have to get a rookie jersey. But all you have to do is use this link that I said I put in the comments and description of today's video and start shopping with our friends over at Fanatics today. Our last winner, Jeudy. Again, somebody that has been showing out, and if you remember, Flacco wasn't able to connect in 2023 to Jeudy because Jeudy wasn't playing on the Browns. But it's clear that they developed a rapport together, and we'll touch on that here in just a second. But if Flacco wins the job, you better be watching out for that breakaway speed that Jeudy has, because guess what? Flacco likes to throw the deep ball. Yes! He's got a cannon for an arm, even at 45 freaking years old, or however old he is. Old man Flacco is what we like to call him. But the Flack attack still has it, and same with Jeudy. Last year, it was clear who your number one target was and your Browns' number one wide receiver was. Jeudy, hands down. And that's with a litany of bad quarterback play. So again, Flacco and Jeudy were reported as having serious connection during the OTAs. And I'm excited for that. Despite who starts week 1, they should have an automatic connection with Jeudy. But if it's Flacco, you're going to see bombs away. And I'm sure that's something that Judy's wanted to showcase himself heading into next season. Before we wrap out, let's talk about the Browns team as a whole. There's a lot of players I mentioned. There's a lot of players that I didn't. So if you have a particular player that you are most excited to see heading into 2025, let me know down in the comment section down below. It was fun, Browns fans. I really enjoyed hanging out with you in the dog pound on today's episode. Remember to subscribe. Help me get all litty-titty for my mini vacation coming up. Like the video, and as always, be cool.